Alright, finishing up Sonic.EXE, hopefully. Just in a split second, Sonic lunged at Tails before the screen went to black. There was a loud, screeching noise that only lasted 5 seconds. Then, the text returned, only this time it said, "You're too slow. Wanna try again?" And then, that god-awful laugh came with it. I was so shocked by what happened. Did Sonic murder Tails? No, he couldn't have. He and Tails are supposed to be best friends, right? Why did Sonic do that to him? I shook the shock off as I was brought back to the character select. The save file that had Tails was different. Tails was no longer in the box itself, but in the TV screen itself, which was flickering with that red static. Tails' expression scared me. His eyes were black and bleeding, his orange fur had gone black, and he had an expression of anguish on his face. Trying to ignore it, I picked Knuckles next. The laugh came again, and the screen cut to black again, and stayed there for another 10 seconds. This time, the level said, "You can't run." I was really freaked out by now. I couldn't really tell if this was a glitch or a hack or some kind of sick, twisted joke or really anything. But despite my fear of what happened next, I kept playing. The next level looked much different. It had the ground of the Scrap Brain Zone, but the sky background looked like the main menu and had the dark reddish cloudy sky. But it was the music that creeped me out the most. It sounded like the Gigas theme right after you beat Pokey in Earthbound. I also noticed that Knuckles looked afraid, just like Tails did, though not as much. More rather, he looked a little unnerved. He broke the fourth wall, just like Tails, and looked as if he wasn't sure about going on, but I made him move anyway. He ran down the straight pathway in this dark level, and he did this as he did, the screen started to flicker red static a couple times, and then that maddening laugh came again. Come on. No. Then after a few seconds of running, I noticed several bloodstains on the metallic ground. I felt a growing sense of fear, again thinking something horrible is going to happen to Knuckles. He looked nauseated, walking down the blood-stained road, but I still kept him going. Suddenly, as Knuckles ran, Sonic appeared right in front of him with those black and red eyes, and then red static appeared again. When the static vanished, showing nothing but black screen with the text saying, "Found you." I was now scared. Sonic found Knuckles already? What was going on? Anyway, red static came again, and then I was back to the level. Knuckles looked like he was panicking, and Sonic was nowhere to be found. And this time, a high-pitched squeal from the Silent Hill 1's final boss was playing. Was this some kind of boss battle with Sonic? I hope to God it wasn't, honestly. Suddenly, Sonic appeared right behind Knuckles in what appeared to be pixelated black smoke. I made Knuckles turn and then punch Sonic, but Sonic vanished in black pixelated smoke before I could even land a hit The terrible laugh went off again. Then Sonic appeared behind Knuckles, and then I made him punch again. And Sonic vanished again, laughing. Knuckles was panicking even more, and I even felt like I was going crazy. Sonic was practically playing with us. He was playing a sick, twisted little mind game with me and Knuckles. Another cutscene played as Knuckles fell to his knees and clutched his head, sobbing. I felt his agony. Sonic was actually driving us both crazy. And then in a split second, Sonic lunged at Knuckles, and the screen went black with another distorted screeching noise that lasted for at least 3 seconds. Another text message appeared. So many souls to play with so little time. Would you agree? What the hell? Just what was going on? I started to think Sonic was actually trying to talk to me through the game, but I was too scared to think that. I was brought back to the main menu, and this time the second file box had Knuckles in the TV screen. His red fur had darkened to a reddish gray. His dreadlocks were dripping with blood, and his eyes were black and bleeding too, and he had a look of sadness on his face. I began to think that those are the actual characters trapped in those TV screens on the save files, but I couldn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it. So I shut off the game and took a break. I took a nap. Wish I hadn't, because I then began to have the most disturbing nightmare. I was in pitch black darkness, though I was under the light given off by a lamp that hung high above my head. I could hear the cries of Knuckles and Tails nearby. They were saying stuff like, "Help us," and "Why did you give us to him?" and "Run away before he gets you, too." Their cries died out, as I then heard Sonic laugh. His laugh, it sounded a lot like that distorted Kefka laugh. "You're a lot of fun to play with, kid, just like your friend Kyle, though he didn't last long." I was scared. I was looking around for the source of the voice. "Won't be long now until you join him and all my other friends." I saw him walking towards me, flickering in and out in several directions. "You can't run, kid. You're in my world now, just like the others." When he grabbed me, I saw his bleeding, black and red-eyed, grinning face. I woke up with a fright. After a couple of hours, I decided to continue playing the game. I don't know why, but I had to figure out why this was happening. So I turned on the computer, turned on the game, and selected Robotnik next. Thank God I hate him. I still thought that was wacky, playing as Robotnik. But anyway, the level title appeared again, and this time it said ... which I found really freaky. This time, I was in some kind of hallway. Didn't really look like it was from any of the classic Sonic games, though it has the pixelated style. The floor was shiny and checkered. The walls were a dark grayish purple with animated candle lights and a few dark bloodstains here and there. And there was a dark red curtain hanging above the top of the part of the screen. Every 12 seconds or so, the red curtain sways very slowly, but whenever you're playing the game, you can barely see it move. The music was oddly pleasant. A piano playing a rather sad, yet peaceful song, but I knew better. This was the song that played in Hill Act 1. it wasn't only it wasn't in reverse. Robotnik didn't look entirely nervous like Tails and Knuckles did, but he did have a suspicious look on his face, as if he was just a bit paranoid. He did a little animation when I just left him standing. He turns his head to the left and then to the right at least twice, and then shrugs at me, as if he had no idea where he was or what was going on, even though I was scared out of my mind about what was going to happen. I had Robotnik continue onward. He did his usual running animation, when you've beaten him at the end of a classic Sonic game and you chase him, as we continued going through the hallway. Then I stopped at a long flight of stairs leading downward. Now I was nervous. Even Robotnik seemed unsure of himself, though I pressed onward. As I led Robotnik down the stairs, I noticed that the walls have gotten darker and more reddish. The red torches are now an eerie blue. Then we landed onto another hallway. This time was longer than the last one, or at least it felt like it. And then we headed down another flight of stairs. This was much longer. Took at least 1 full minute. And then I heard that horrid Kefka laugh again, and then the music slowly faded until it was quiet. As it did, the walls turned more dark red, and the torches were a black flame now. When Robotnik landed onto the third hallway, I noticed he now looked really creeped out, though he tried to hide it. I couldn't blame him. I was scared too. Suddenly Sonic popped right in front of Robotnik the same way he did Knuckles, and then red static. Red static lasted for about 15 seconds, and then it showed me a most unpleasant image. The image showed a hyper-realistic of Sonic standing of Sonic standing in the darkness, where you can only see his face while his head and torso faded into black. And when I say hyper-realistic, I mean like he looked so real you could actually see the lines in his blue fur, as if you could actually feel the fur if you touched the screen. His face, oh god, he had the most horrifying smile I had ever seen. And that's saying something, considering I saw that image at the start of the game. His eyes are wide and black and once again crying blood, which also looked hyper-realistic. And there were 2 small glowing red dots in those black eyes staring right at me, as if staring into my mind. His grin was wide and demonic. It literally stretched to the sides of his face as a Cheshire cat, except Sonic had fangs. Very sharp fangs. Much like the werehog's teeth, except more vicious looking, somewhat yellowish, and from the look of it, he had stains of blood and small bits of flesh on his lips and fangs, as if he ate some animal.